My brother-in-law confessed feelings for me after I went wedding dress shopping with his fiancée. Okay, I'm pretty overwhelmed, so I'll start with some background. I have been with my husband for 5 years. We've been married for 2. Since early on in the relationship, I've been great friends with his older brother, partially because I always wanted one. When he started dating a girl about 2 years ago, I went out of my way to make sure she knew she had a friend to me if she wanted. Since we're the only girls in the family, we're great friends now, and since they got engaged 3 months ago, I have been helping with wedding planning and was asked to be a bridesmaid. We went dress shopping today and had a blast. We went to brunch, had some mimosas, found the dress, and went back to their house to celebrate. I ended up alone in the kitchen with my brother-in-law a bit after being there, and he said he just had to tell me something before it kept eating at him. I was a little buzzed and confused, but was not all expecting him to say what he did. I think I've had feelings for you for a few years, and I've never been able to tell you, and just needed to know if you ever felt the same. I completely froze and just shook my head. I told him that no, I have never thought about him in any way other than a friend and a brother, and I never would. Before he said anything else, I bolted back to his fiancée and the other girls there, and very discreetly told her I got my period and wasn't feeling well, and would have someone come get me, and then come by soon for more wedding planning. She thought nothing of it, and I called my best friend to come get me. She dropped me off at home. My husband is working right now, and there is no question that I am going to tell him as soon as he gets home. But I just have no idea where to go from there. Do I tell his fiancée? Do I make him tell her? Do I leave it? Do I have my husband talk to him? Has anyone ever had something like this happen or have any advice? Anything is appreciated. Update 1. Thanks to everyone who helped calm my panic mind after my original post. I didn't want to tell my husband we need to talk while he was still at work and make him panic, so having some reassurance from here was really helpful. I also noticed a lot of people asking for an update, so here is one that even I was shocked by as I lived it. It's not exactly the earth-shattering blow-up most people thought it would be. My husband came home, and he immediately knew I had something on my mind. I explained the whole thing, and he was livid at his brother. Thankfully, he gave me a hug, and I broke down crying from the stress. He assured me I did everything right and wasn't my fault. After that, he went to call his brother and tell him that he knew what happened and wanted to talk to him one-on-one. Well, it turns out that his brother and fiancé were already on their way to our house to talk about it. As soon as the other girls left, not long after me, my BIL confessed everything to her. First, she slapped him, deserved. But after they talked and he promised her that his feelings for her were genuine, she said that he needed to apologize to me and his brother, and then they could go from there. So they came over and he and my husband went and talked, while I talked with his fiancée. We both cried and talked for about an hour. I promised her I never had any feelings for him and had no idea he ever had any for me. Apparently, she had caught him gazing at me on a family vacation once and thought maybe he had some attraction to me, so while this sucked, she felt some relief that she wasn't crazy for thinking it. He admitted she was right and thinks his feelings at one point were out of jealousy that his younger brother was further in life than him, and he attributed that to me in a way. This was new to him as the older brother, and they really hadn't compared each other much growing up just because they had vastly different paths. It was little apples to oranges. But now there was some perceived competition on a similar playing field. The feelings had faded, but when she came home saying she found a dress, he felt an urge to come clean, and he wished he had said it differently or worked through it with some help before to actually understand what the feelings were before making this whole mess. I don't know about all that, but I guess I could understand it with a more clear head. I mean, if the Oedipus complex can be a thing, then I can see him having some complex feelings that manifested as attraction, but didn't affect his love for his fiancée. This all happened in one night, and he was visibly distressed over it. So I'd find it hard to believe he could weave a whole story like that, so I'm inclined to believe him. Once my husband and his brother came back to the living room, my BIL looked like a puppy who just got in trouble. Also looked a little roughed up, but I didn't question it. We all talked, and he apologized to me for putting me in this position. Where it landed, their wedding is on hold privately while they figure out next steps. Thankfully, there was nothing booked and no date sent out. We had gone wedding dress shopping just to get an idea, and it was just luck that she fell in love with a dress. They're going to go to couples therapy to decide if and how they can move past this. There is clear love between the two. Things will be tense, but I think he feels genuine remorse, and my potential SIL says she holds no ill will against me, and if they move forward, she'd still love to have me as a bridesmaid if I'm willing. My husband and his brother have some serious work to do on their relationship, and my friendship with my B will never be the same again, but we'll see what happens from here. We've also agreed to keep this between the four of us. But they will be honest that they're doing some premarital counseling before setting dates or full-on planning. I saw a lot of comments telling me to keep my mouth shut and no harm was done. While I guess I can see your point, I just couldn't imagine keeping something like this from my husband, especially if it came out later, and he found out I withheld it. Trust is huge in our partnership, and even just omission feels like a betrayal of that. Sure, I knew this could blow up if I let out, but it would be my BIL's fault, not mine. He had all control over telling me what he did. Thanks to everyone who helped me through that scary processing time alone. Relevant comments. Comment. I'd love to know the subtle things that you did to him all these years. You never at all flirted with him in any way? Bro's feelings and confidence to shoot his shot came from somewhere. Oh, it wasn't like it was a smooth-talking question. He stumbled through it. And no, I never flirted with him. I teased him, in the same way his entire family does. They're that kind of family, and after about a year, I joined in. The only thing I did that the rest of the family didn't was drunk with him more, basically just because we're the only two that like to do shots, and we have the same liquor preference. I would never dream of flirting with my partner's boyfriend at any point in the relationship. Update 2. I wanted to address a couple common responses I've been seeing here and give another next day update. To everyone telling me not tell anyone or give him a mulligan, that was never an option to me. My husband and I are a team, and we don't keep secrets, only surprises. It's something we agreed on before getting married. If I didn't tell him, and it came out later, it's as good as me lying to his face. I did nothing wrong, and I know my husband would stand by me, so that just wasn't an option I was willing to consider. To all the claims that I'd be blowing up multiple families, I'm not the one who confessed feelings. He opened this can of worms, and it's not my responsibility to keep this secret. If this does blow up his relationship or his family, that's all on him, not me. There were a lot of other common themes in here, but those two were very prevalent, and I wanted to dispel them. So for this small update, my husband actually called his brother today and asked if he wanted to go to one of their favorite bars to watch the game together today, something pretty common for them, or all four of us to do, before all this. My BIL was shocked, but agreed. Shortly after, his fiancée called me and asked if she could come over while they were gone. She was honest and said it might be awkward, but we would do this a lot and either do some DIY together, get a puzzle out, or watch movies together. She wanted to see if I'd be open to keeping this up as long as we were both comfortable with it while they work their things out so our relationship doesn't deteriorate. It meant the world to me, and I said of course. All four of us agreed that they, BIL and fiancé, would start seeing a couples therapist ASAP, and my BIL would see one on his own. Until they get a better grasp on what his feelings were/are and their own plan, we won't get all four of us together and bill, and I will not be alone together. My potential SIL is one of the most level-headed people I've ever met, and so kind-hearted. My BIL used to have a lot of walls up that she broke down pretty naturally, and this is so out of character for him. His proposal to her was so well-planned and thoughtful, and tailored her down to the smallest detail. He picked her a new outfit, had the perfect ring, even the blanket at the setting was her favorite color, a detail he did intentionally, and he had even arranged to have her parents there who live hours away. It's clear that he loves her, and I truly don't think that even if I did say yes, he would not leave her to be with me. Not that it would have been an option. I truly see a road forward for them and all of us. We're all committed to finding the best outcome for everyone involved. My marriage is solid, and we have our marriage maintenance, couples therapy appointment coming up soon anyway, so we'll check in with an outside opinion, but I'm not worried. They're going to consult with a therapist at the same practice in just a couple days. It obviously won't be a quick and smooth fix, as this was fucked up, but I'm much more optimistic than many comments here and wanted to share. Relevant comments. Comment. Future Sil is pathetic for staying with that man. All I'm gonna say. I don't think it's pathetic to give something, even a fucked up situation, a little extra time to decide on going forward. The way she is looking at it is that she can leave and nobody would blame her, and she wouldn't blame herself. But she loves him, and for herself, she wants to take a beat to more deeply understand the situation before she makes a decision to stay or leave. She was planning a future for him, and if she just leaves immediately, she will have a lot of inner turmoil to work through, and what ifs. If she takes a few therapy sessions and decides to leave, she would feel more confident in her decision. That's her choice to make. You may think it's pathetic, but it's what she decided was best for her. Comment. This story is kind of anticlimactic. Couldn't you add in a tiger or a sword fight? Here's a little more of a climax. Turns out she had like a physical attraction / little crush on a coworker at one point, like 8 months into their relationship, which is why she had a little more sympathy and was willing to try to work on it. She said it can happen and not change that she loves him. Maybe the coworker was like a spy or something to add some drama. Kidding. But there was that slight development. Final update. Hi, everyone. I posted this first on the Too Hot Takes subreddit, and a few updates on my account since they all kept getting taken down by mods, and I wanted to share a final update as I'm still getting notifications from them. For some context, I am 27F, my husband is 28M, BIL is 32M, and his fiancée is 29F. This started as a throwaway account, but now it's just an anonymous account, and this will likely be my last update regarding this story. Since this happened, we have talked, and my BIL has explained some of his feelings, as he has understood so far thanks to a lot of introspection and therapy. The silver lining to all of this is that he's spending some much-needed time working through his feelings and coping mechanisms. He group texted me and my husband and asked if we could talk together. It was mostly to talk to me. He didn't want there to be any gray area going forward. To sum it up, he very sincerely apologized to me for the position he put me in and to both of us for the betrayal of our relationships. After a couple therapy sessions talking through his root feelings, he realized how terrified of change he was even when it was good, and frankly his fear of a failed marriage. He was older and understood so much more of his parents' divorce than my husband, and he didn't realize how much that impacted him because he had pushed it down so deep. My husband and I had met before my BL met his fiancée, and in the early days, he had an attraction to me. But he pushed these feelings away because, obviously, I was with his brother. When he found his fiancée, he truly fell in love with her, and we all knew it by the way he acted. I mean, this guy is usually stubborn and stoic, but he just melted for her. He changed so many habits, for the better, for her sake and for his future. Nobody questioned if he loved her, and he was so excited to propose, albeit he knew he was nervous for the life change. When we went out dress shopping and came back, a little tipsy and excited, she just gushed to him about wedding details and ideas, and he got overwhelmed. So he did a couple shots, not saying it was a good choice, but it's the one he made. And when I came out, as a person he had come to for comfort or advice on more than one occasion, he just exploded and said what he said. He had so many thoughts running through his head, and I can't say I'm that mad at him for what happened. When I got engaged, no matter how much I love my husband and how great our marriage is now, I have to admit I had a few late-night musings about what life would be like married, because it should not be taken lightly. He was so genuine in his apology and ashamed of his thoughts and actions, he was damn near in tears. When his brother hugged him, he lost it. I gave him a hug as well, and he couldn't stop thanking us for not just telling him to F off. His fiancée joined us after our talk, and she said that while she's still struggling with trusting him, and they aren't going to get married on the same timeline they were planning, she's not leaving him as long as he continues to work on his feelings and unpacks his emotions around marriage. They go to couples therapy, and both go individually as well, and I think we all see a road forward, knowing it will not be easy. In my past posts, there were so many people who thought my BIL was making it up to get out of it, and he would have thrown away his relationship for me. Call me crazy or naive, but I don't see it that way, and nobody else involved does either. We addressed the possibility and dismissed it. I appreciate the level of care people have shown for me and my future SIL, and we will continue to show care for her and my BIL as they navigate this together. Storyt. My boss leads a clique that gossips about other staff and now wants to have a drunk sleepover. I work for the government in a small office where there is one director, 9 educational specialists, of which I am one, 5 support staff, and 4 specialists who share our office space but actually report to a different department. I originally applied for a specialist position, and while I did not get the job, they hired me as support staff because they wanted me at the organization and I had the necessary skills. After 1 month, the person they hired for the specialist position quit, and I was asked to apply again. This time, I was selected. The director of our organization was promoted just before I was hired. Previously, she had been a specialist for many years, and the other specialists are some of her very best friends. I like her and the other specialists, and I have enjoyed my job a lot so far. However, last week I was invited out for dinner and drinks, which is where my problems began. I really did not want to spend my Friday night at work, because for me, this dinner is going to cause me a lot of anxiety and make me work at socializing all night long, but I decided to go and try to build relationships. At the dinner were my boss and 6 of the 9 specialists. They have all worked together for over 3 years and have made their girls' nights a tradition, so no spouses are allowed. I assumed the other 3 specialists were not there because of schedule conflicts, but I found out during the course of the night that 2 of them are not invited because they are male, and these dinners are only for ladies, and the other female specialist is not invited because they don't get along. They also do not seem to like the male specialists very much. I was hoping to be able to learn a little bit about my colleagues and bosses' hobbies and families, but instead they spent the entire evening venting and gossiping about the employees that weren't there. I assumed that there would be some shop talk, but I felt very uncomfortable because our boss was joining in, and unlike the rest of them, I haven't been friends with her since before she was supervisor, and because I didn't have anything to contribute to the conversation. I really don't like gossip, I don't like negativity, and I happen to like the support staff and specialists who weren't there. By the end of the night, my previous boss and current colleague had shared details about my family that I had mistakenly thought were from private conversations between us. I knew the scores that the people who weren't there had received on their annual performance reviews, and I had basically been warned. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. They want to have a drunk sleepover in a few months, which everyone is excited about. These are academic professionals ranging in age from 35 to 60. I am in my 20s, but I used to be a teacher, so this is not my first professional job, and I had assumed they would behave more professionally. I have zero interest in going out with them again, but I know that will put me on the outside with the rest of the office, and they will probably spend their next dinner gossiping about my performance reviews. I also feel that now I can't go to my boss with any problems because it will be spread around to everyone in the office, and I am a rather private person. Can you offer any advice? I do enjoy the actual work I do, and of course in our economy, I am grateful to have a job, especially since my husband was just laid off. As always, please head to the link for Allison's advice. The commentariat was also equally appalled, as am I. Update. At first, I tried to keep to myself and remain professional, but interactions with my co-workers kept getting worse. I would work an event while they would smoke outside or bring their children and entertain them, but at the same time they were too busy to find time to train me on parts of my job. I kept trying to work hard and develop quality educational materials, but eventually it ended up in exactly what one of your readers predicted. In June, my boss called me in to talk about traits like poor interactions and rapport with others, standoffish or snobbish, not a team player, unapproachable. I was disappointed and relieved at the same time. We discussed how this might not be the best place for me, and she did me the courtesy of being understanding and supportive, and she wrote me a positive letter of reference. Although I know this goes against your advice, I gave my notice with nothing lined up because I was so desperate to get out of there. My husband had found a job in April, so he was supportive of the decision to go back down to one income so that I wouldn't have to come home feeling miserable every day. Interestingly, after it started to get around the small office that I would be leaving in a few weeks, I started receiving visits from each and every one of the unpopular people telling me that I would be missed because I'm one of the good ones and that they understand why I'm leaving and wish they could do the same. One of them told me she cries herself to sleep every night but can't leave without finding another job first. I had been feeling sort of ashamed that I was such a quitter and that I couldn't just suck it up and get along with everyone, but their comments made me realize that it wasn't just me who found the office culture toxic, and I felt lucky that I could get out. Now I am struggling trying to find another job, but I have been doing some volunteer work and try and make connections while I search. While I've been on a few interviews, I haven't found anything yet. I've accepted that I left the best job in my area as far as pay and opportunities. On paper, it really was an awesome job. However, since the best job was that horrible, it's really given me new perspective. Thanks to you and your readers for your advice.